Can we respectfully ask that you take your conversations outside the room? We have other things to continue with. Mr. Chairman, I would just like to note that at your May 2nd meeting, you also have another hearing scheduled on and you may feel the need to have a larger venue than this to seat potentially who might be here for both. From what I understand, you may have an audience for the zone change request. So the last thing you want to do is have a meeting where you have to move it because you don't have an adequate space. So what I can do is I can see if the auditorium over at the center building would be available that night, and we can make sure that everybody knows where the meeting would continue to. I just would, I don't want you to have an issue with not having adequate seating area for people who would wish to participate in a public hearing that you've noticed.
Once we said that,
Hang on a sec.
well, actually, now's the time to talk, actually.
Okay, keep going.
Once we've said that application was going to be heard on May 2nd, we're not allowed to change that?
Well, that's what they heard. You can,
No, I wasn't talking about their
He's talking about the zone.
no.
I'm talking about the other application that we're doing, which is the reason you're asking for the large venue, is on May 2nd.
Correct.
And I'm saying, are we allowed to move that application to a different time if we want to do a special meeting instead of doing it at our May 2nd meeting now?
We have time to renotice. I mean, the notice hasn't run yet. So if you tell me to run it to another date,
Alternatively, you could open it and then immediately continue
it to another date, which,
if you wish.
except that starts to chew up their time clock.
It starts chewing up the time clock. Why would we want to do that?
But we use 65, we have to start it within 65 days, and so we're looking at a time frame where, because we deferred opening it so that the Council of Governments would have enough time to review it and comment on it before you started, but I can always approach that applicant and ask them for an extension of time in which to start it. Otherwise, as Terry said, you can always start it and continue it.
Is it expected that there's going to be that many people for that? Because if there are, then maybe a special meeting would be more appropriate,
That's what I mean.
rather than tying up. Otherwise, we're going to be there all night long.
That's what I'm thinking.
So
Okay.
the question then to you, for me, is do you want to, as Terry recommended, start the hearing and immediately continue it, and we can tell the public that that's what we're going to do? I mean, I can put that in the notice and we can disseminate
What
that
would be the
information.
advantage of that, other than just saying we're going to do a special meeting on May 9th?
The only other question that happens is that we then have to get permission from the applicant to start the hearing later, because we have to start it within 65 days of when you received it. And I don't have a calendar right in front of me to see how many days we're playing with there.
And when did it start?
You received it at your
March meeting.
March meeting, which was March
But I thought it was the applicant
7th.
who said they weren't available in April, and they're the ones that picked May.
No, it was staff, i.e. me, asking you to give enough time to COG, because we were getting it
Right.
late, to
Right.
be able to have them have a meeting, because the March meeting, our March meeting was so late, the COG meeting was coming up too quick for them to be able to review it at their March meeting. They needed to do it at their April meeting.
So so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to this meeting, and we're gonna tell everybody we're gonna do this. In other words, we're gonna have our meeting here, we're gonna open it and immediately continue it, but we're gonna tell everybody that.
We
because-
can tell everybody that. if that's what you wish to do, we can tell them that.
But it still drags everybody here, probably.
Not necessarily,
That's the, yeah.
because the legal notice has not yet run in the newspaper. So we can run a legal notice in the paper that puts people on notice that we're physically going to open the hearing, but immediately continue it to another date. So
Okay.
that they know that, and the word of mouth can
Yeah.
get out there. I mean, people do call. I know there's a network that's already networking, so.
So do we want to set as soon as possible that date that we're going to?
That would be very useful.
I would
do
need
that.
to be able
Right.
to put that, I mean, it would be appropriate to have that in the legal notice in the paper.
Yes, that's what I'm,
All right, so, since only part of the commission's here, do you want to do that tomorrow?
Okay.
So,
Can we get an idea if you want to do it for the month? I
the
think
9th,
May 2nd is the first Monday. Would you want to try it for May 9th?
yeah.
If you have the permission of the applicant,
We can do it later than,
could we do it at the June meeting?
if we had permission of the applicant, we could, yeah.
So is the most expedient way forward to see whether we can get that permission before?
We can,
Finding
I
a
can
special
contact Attorney Nuff tomorrow, who's the attorney.
And I think we're gonna need a special meeting. I think we should do a special meeting, not our regular meeting.
It sounds like even a special meeting would be beyond the 65 days from the date of the application.
I believe you're correct.
Well, no, that's correct, they have to give their permission, I get it, but I don't think if there's gonna be that big a crowd that we should even do it at a regular meeting, is my point. So I don't really care when it is, I mean, as long as I'm around, or everyone's around, or whatever.
and so you're talking about having a special meeting in May sometime.
Yeah.
I mean, typically, zoning board of appeals lately would meet on the second Monday, and knock on wood, we haven't had any applications, so I'm pretty confident we would have this room.
Well, I don't think we can have it here on the 9th.
Okay. You still want to have a bigger room?
No, I'm buying into what you're telling me.
Okay.
There's gonna be a crowd.
Well, I'm just saying, if we have the JCC application as well as the other application between those two crowds, you would, I mean, you
Okay.
filled the room tonight with just one hearing.
Okay, so I really think we should just do the JCC application on the 2nd at our regular meeting, and we should do a special meeting for the Woodbridge Village. But if you're telling me that crowd's gonna fit in here, great, it didn't sound like that. I misunderstand.
I'm just saying, I know there's going to be a lot of people, but not necessarily more people than what you had for the JCC. But if you had the crowd that you had here this evening, as well as another equal crowd, you would exceed the seating capacity, I believe, of this room, although I'm not the fire
That would be
marshal.
painful if we do this while there's another, oh my God. We'll be hearing about this Pedro for the whole night. Okay, so I'm gonna defer to you on this. If I don't really want to have the meetings together. I want the JCC at our next meeting in
Okay.
May 2nd, and the other one should be some other time. And if you think that those people are going to fit in this room, great. If not, then we need the other room.
And the true practical thing that you're saying is that we also have to find a room that's available.
I agree.
So
I mean, what happens if we have it here? Because I think we're all comfortable here. But having said that, what happens if we schedule it here and there's too many people?
I can tell you that in 17 years, we haven't had to adjourn it from a meeting from this room to another room in real time.
There you go.
It's just 17 years.
Okay.
Just always.
So
I mean, they've been out in the hallways.
that's
Fill the
okay.
room.
That's okay.
So I will talk to Attorney Nuff tomorrow and ask for an extension of time, and ask him if he wishes to start the hearing and continue
The
it,
9th for
or
me works. I don't
just
know how
move the
about
hearing
it.
date.
9th is fine with me.
Now,
Life is
Good night.
fine.
Okay, so I'll try for the 9th, in here. Okay, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
So, a week's away.
Okay, next.
All right. Okay, so we're just gonna deal with this, we have a couple things. We're gonna go a little out of order. But, so we're gonna look at this proposed abandonment of town-owned property. Is this, what are we doing with this? Are we deciding on this tonight, or?
These are both 824 referrals, so once you get them from the date that you receive them, you have 35 days to act on them. So unless you hold a special meeting before your next meeting, you've gotta get them done now.
So they're going in May. They'll be at the May meeting?
No, I think, when did we get them?
March 20, as of March 24th? Oh, wait a minute, I don't understand.
So we have 35 days from the receipt of them. So we received them on March 10th. So
So we need to act.
we have to act on them
Either
tonight.
today or a special meeting.
Got 4 more days.
Okay, let's do it tonight,
Yes.
as opposed to coming back in 4 days. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, okay, kind of thought of that. Okay. So, actually, March 9th, March 10th. Okay, at a regular meeting held on March 9th, 2016, the Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to refer the verbal request from Karen Lombardi, owner of the property listed on Town of Woodward record as 18 Hazel Terrace, to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission to review under Section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes. If approved, said property will be abandoned in equal share to abutting property owners. The responsibility of the property owner to obtain the consent of this abandonment from the abutting property owners. Pertinent portion of the map filed in Woodbridge Land Records dated November 1st, 1910. Deed recorded in volume 29, page 84. If you turn the page, you can see what I'm talking about.
I have a question about it because it is unclear, is this town-owned property? And Carol Lombardi, who has nothing to do with this.
She is the owner of an abutting property to
Oh,
it,
she's the owner of the abutting.
one of the abutting
So she would
properties.
gain from this.
So
Well,
she's petitioning
right.
the town to abandon the road. So she abuts it on the south side.
I couldn't figure out where the hell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's you can't read that?
No, I'm sorry.
And it's from 1910.
Well,
Apparently in 1910, the road was flat.
Yeah, that's, well, yes. Actually, we've seen a couple of projects that's exactly what it does look like.
There's a remarkable, there's now the UI substation would be an abutting property owner to this.
No,
Well, it's Hazel Terrace, and it's the back
yeah,
of
but
Hazel Terrace.
this is going up the road, so it's
Okay,
past,
this is- Well, which one is it?
Mr.
no, that's the
Vladimir's
second
Sekos
Yeah.
property.
one. Yeah. Where,
So this is an undeveloped parcel before the end of Hazel Terrace, before 30 Hazel Terrace, which has a building on it, and it goes up the slope towards Crum Elbow, right?
Is this like on the end of Hazel Terrace from where the dance studio is?
This is almost opposite, but to the west opposite, and then up the hill. So it's all undeveloped up there.
But it is how you get there. You go up past the dance studio.
And then it would be on the left-hand side, correct?
Maybe we should put a parking lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it could be used for parking.
Good luck. It's
I'm
pretty
thinking the
steep.
town may want to put a parking lot there.
okay, so this was going to be a proposed road that
Right.
goes up that way.
At that time frame, as currently, when you subdivided property, you provided a right-of-way for a road to be created, and over all that time, that road has never been created.
For good reason, I might.
For good reason, the
It
slope
needs
is
steps.
probably
It needs
prohibitive
steps.
of
Okay.
creating a road that would be conforming with the road specs. So they're asking for the abandonment of it. And with the abandonment, it gets divided down the middle and then goes to the properties on the
Yeah,
other
and then
side.
becomes part of their property, and therefore becomes part of the tax rolls.
Correct,
Gets back onto the tax roll.
correct.
Right.
Okay. You ain't gonna ever put a road out there.
What's the property behind it? All just woods?
The property up on Crum Elbow, some of the abutting property owners up there actually have frontage on Crum Elbow, which is a dirt road, and that's a residential
And how do you get to it?
district. You get to
Park Lane.
those from Crum Elbow,
Park Lane, Crum Elbow.
off of Park Lane. So when you come up Fountain Street, Park
Yeah, I know where
Lane,
Park Lane is.
yeah,
I'm-
and then you go to the end of Park Lane, and then Crum Elbow is a right. It's a dirt road to the right, and it goes all the way down to the
Wow.
right-of-way, the utility right-of-way that comes up the hill.
Wow.
There are town-owned parcels on Crum Elbow, and there are 2 parcels of residential lots on Crum Elbow owned by a private party.
So Chris, on this map, it's the proposed applications to split between lot 7 and 8. Is that where it is, this piece here?
The parcel that's owned by Ms. Lombardi is a sizable parcel, as you can tell looking at that map. There were many small lots. This was done quite
Right.
frequently in that era.
Right.
So they've been combined to be a larger parcel.
Right.
So,
Which parcel?
But he says it's between 7 and 8.
okay.
Is it between 7 and 8 or
Has nothing to
between
do with the
15?
shaded area, does it?
Yeah, that's,
Between 9 and 15.
Between, oh, that's where it is, 9 and
Like the
15.
Goodrich Terrace.
Goodrich Terrace?
Okay.
Yeah, Goodrich Terrace is what's being proposed to
Oh.
be,
I'm sorry.
oh, okay.
Which
Which
you said it
is,
was off of Hazel
Abandoned.
Terrace.
which is she though, 9 or 15? She's 18.
these
Well,
are,
that's house number, and then
these are
lot numbers.
parcel numbers, not addresses.
Wait, which parcel is she, 15 or 9?
It has to be
I have
15.
no idea.
I would have to go look downstairs on the
18
assessor's map to
Hazel
be able to
Terrace.
answer that for you.
Where's Hazel? Oh, that's Hazel
Does the shading signify anything at all?
No.
Probably not.
She has to be 9 because she said owner of the property records at 18 Hazel Terrace, so she has to be 9.
That's the only one that's accessed, has a
Hazel
budding
Terrace.
Hazel
Because that's the
Terrace.
only one, because the other, 9 is not, 15 is not on Hazel Terrace.
That must be accessed from Bank Street or
Which
June.
no longer
June.
exists there.
No longer exists there. Okay.
Well, and June Street doesn't go that far.
Hazel Terrace doesn't go up.
How does the owner of
Oh, and June Street doesn't go up
15.
because June Street ends at the substation.
Right.
access their property? Is there a,
So how do you get into 15? Bank Street?
From,
Hazel Terrace, you have to go up Bank Street to get to,
Bank Street doesn't exist.
okay, then how do you get to 15?
Have to go look at the map up there. I believe it's the frontage that goes up to Crum Elbow. Crum Elbow is up along the top.
Oh, so you come down
Um,
to 15.
If you want to go on to another one, I will run downstairs and see if I can make you a
that's
map.
okay, that's all right. I think we're all right.
Well, we can go to the next one anyway.
The next one's easier.
Yeah, that,
Clearly.
it was given,
Yeah.
The road that
Okay,
does-
request from Udo Schwartz, owner of 26 Laurel Road, and Liz Shannon Smith, owner of 25 Laurel Road, to abandon the town-owned property, AKA Paper Road, listed on the assessor's map as 27 Laurel Road. If approved, said property will be abandoned in equal share to 25 Laurel Road and to 26 Laurel Road. The third abutting property owner of the South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority has notified the town there's no objection to the abandonment or discontinuance of the end of Laurel Road. Attachments include a letter from Mr. Schwartz, Ms. Sharon Smith, copy of an email from John Triana, RWA Real Estate Manager, addressed to Christine Sullivan, and copies, blah, blah, blah.
This one's very
That's a legal
simple.
term.
It's between two existing residential
So
properties.
this week,
And there's a wetland at the end of it, and that's why the Regional Water Authority has said they have no issue with it. And again, it just puts it on the tax roll.
yes,
Yeah, 26 and 29. Okay, this one's easy.
yes.
This one's very easy.
I move to accept this, so approve it, whatever you
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
This one was easy, I understood this one.
Okay.
Um,
So,
Do you want to discuss with Leslie while I run downstairs and try to find you another map?
sure, that sounds good. So I've invited Leslie to join us to give us kind of an update on where things are going on her project. Ms. Green, please join us.
Good evening.
I was a little later than I thought.
It's okay. So, first, do you have any questions before I tell you what I've been up to?
Ooh.
Okay. Since I was last here, I have met with several people from Woodbridge, including the first selectwoman and her staff. And among other things, what I've been working on has been reading through the POCD, the zoning regulations, doing some research in terms of the history of the development of Woodbridge to uncover, if there's anything to uncover, the previous development patterns. Woodbridge seems to have mostly just developed as opposed to redeveloped. So I've been to the Historical Society in New Haven, the library here, just kind of reading as much as I can about the history of the development of this area. In addition to that, I've extensively photographed the area. I've also started to, it's almost completely done, prepared an online survey, preference survey, which we talked about last time. And that is a survey that will be available both online and available in the library and town hall. And if there's any other place that makes sense, please let me know. The purpose of that survey, and I don't want to hand out everything, but I can give you an example of some of the photographs that will be circulated through that survey. They're all, let me put it this way, none of the buildings that are shown are from Woodbridge. Okay? And that's on purpose. Because we want people's opinion. We want their opinion of what a space looks like, what it feels like, what do they like about it, what don't they like about it. So I'll hand out 2 sheets and you can pass these around. Those are just examples. There'll be 3 different surveys, one that will cover residential, one that will cover mixed use, and one that will cover public realm areas and local commercial areas. Those last 2 are the same, are together. And really the goal is to get a feel for what people in Woodbridge are willing to accept. Is there a hue and cry for really tall buildings and lots of residential? Is there definitely not a hue and cry for really tall buildings and lots of residential? So that's the kind of thing that we'll get from that, and I expect a launch in May. And those surveys will run sequentially. Usually what I do is 10 days online, 4 days off, another 10 days on, 4 days off. The results from that will be reviewed, analyzed, put together. That's where we get kind of a general sense of what people are feeling. There'll probably be 10 to 12 photographs or images. Some of them are, watercolors type images. 10 to 12 images per survey. We don't want to overload people. We really do want them to respond. If we can also, we'll have available hard copies if there are people that don't have computers, and it's one of the reasons we'll have them at the library and at Town Hall. If any of you have any suggestions on how to make this work better, please let me know.
So where are we getting the email addresses from? Are we getting them from the town? Is the town giving you access to the Woodbridge Town site?
The link will be posted on the town website, and they will be solicited from every way that we can figure out to solicit them. There'll be a press release, there will be a link on the website, there'll be an announcement there's a monthly paper, I believe, and a weekly paper. I know we just put together a draft of a press release last week, so we're going to get the word out in as many ways as possible, all the ways that we did with the POCD and any others that anybody can think of. So that's kind of the biggest thing coming up. Thank you.
And so that's going to start in May, and how long is it going to go for?
Each survey will run for 10 days.
So and how many surveys are you going to do?
3.
So you're expecting people to respond to 3 surveys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just ask.
It's all opinion. People like to give their opinion.
Not here.
It's really, I like the idea, I don't like the awning. I don't like the font on the awning.
Yeah.
The building's too tall. It is.
Well, a big issue is going to be traffic and parking down there.
And traffic in and of itself is the jurisdiction of your local traffic authority.
I know.
I've been through this a couple of times, and I know that that's what we hear. And parking is, we can talk about other ways of dealing with both on-site parking and the possibility of counting on-street parking toward a parking count for a project. But those are all things that we'll work out a little bit further down the line. And then the other thing that I've been working on is also putting together the beginning of regulations. This is sort of like a Mad Libs version right now. It is very far from, I can't even say complete with a straight face. It's basically an outline of the things that we need to look at, that zoning regulations look at almost anywhere, and what kind, we'll fill in the numbers later and massage the text, but it gives me a head start. The best time to do writing is often during the summer because everybody's away on vacation. So get the surveys done before that, and I will prepare a draft over the course of the summer, and then by the fall we should be ready to take a look at that. We'll look at that internally with the commission, and then also obviously have public input meetings and take it from there. But right now we're on schedule, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
Right. The regulations. I was looking for something. I'm gonna find it. The regulations are going to be not just for that area. It's going to be. How far have we gone? Are we including, like, for instance, the old car dealership that's abandoned right now? Is that property included in this whole conversation? Yeah, that's what I thought.
In terms of looking at the regulations, have you seen the Woodbridge Village proposed regulations?
The ones for
the Woodbridge Village what?
Proposed
Oh
regulations.
yeah, the new ones. The things were.
Yeah,
the amendment.
the amendment and how that's going to change the concept of the entire project. and how that's going to fit in or not fit in, and what you're, are you going to give, because obviously you need some sort of unification down there, or some sort of feel. Are you going to give your recommendations on that also?
We haven't asked her.
I know,
That's actually beyond my scope right now.
okay.
One of the things that you run into this whenever you're changing regulations, there are all kinds of things that are applications that are running under the current regulations. You can't enforce retroactively, obviously.
Absolutely. That's what I'm
And-
asking in terms of, because we have a chance now to change these.
But the changes that you can make prior to the adoption of new regulations have to comply with your existing regulations.
Right.
So that would really,
The Woodbridge Village is pretty well separate in many respects from all the other regulations we have. It's almost, it's a district almost in and of itself.
the
in
best
terms
thing
of
I can
design
tell you right now is
regulations and things
it's
like
beyond my scope,
Okay.
and if you, well, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that we may, after the hearing, we may decide to get Leslie involved. Yeah. I mean, if she wants, of course. But, can't find something. All right, cool.
Anything
Oh,
else?
so is there any other question?
Any,
Mr.
I don't have anything. Does anybody else have any?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I might make one suggestion for Leslie. The meeting that this commission is going to hold on May 9th is expected to receive quite a few residents from Lower Woodbridge here to express their feelings on development, parking, traffic, and what that development might do. So though you may not have that much of an interest out of your scope, the actual development, I think you will get a chance to survey many residents at that time if you want it during your survey period. So you might want to attend.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay, anything else?
All right.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. So, Chris, how'd you make out?
Well, in looking at the map that's online for the assessor's thing, and Terry and I both seem to concur, we seem to think that perhaps Goodrich Terrace has already been abandoned, because,
Or at least a portion of it.
at least a portion of it, but this large tract is 18, which is supposedly owned by Miss Lombardi. And over here, you can see kind of a little dogleg, and that's where Goodrich Terrace went across. And so this is what used to be Bank Street. And so we're not sure, I think we need more information,
Yeah,
whether
that's-
it's actually Bank Street that's
Street?
being
Right.
Yeah.
asked to be abandoned rather than Goodrich, which we think has already been abandoned because part of it is incorporated into 8 Hazel Terrace, and it looks like the rest of it has been incorporated into 18
Already.
already.
With all due respect, I think you need additional information.
I think
So,
so too. Yeah.
I think we need more information before.
Sounds like the applicant might need a title search.
Or we just may need a correction in the name of the road that's proposed to be abandoned. So, we can send it back with that.
Or maybe what they're asking to be abandoned has already been abandoned.
Yeah. So,
That'd be interesting.
we can write a letter back to that effect and just say that,
Can we ask for a continuation on that?
statutes don't give you that authority. You have to give them a report. So your report can be, looking at your maps, it does not appear that Goodrich, or
That's what
whatever
they're
it is.
asking.
Yeah, Goodrich Terrace currently exists, looking at the assessor's map.
All right. Of course, it doesn't even call out.
Yeah, it doesn't even say.
It doesn't even call out Goodrich Terrace.
On On this small map, this
Well,
is
you-
Goodrich
but-
Terrace here.
Yeah. I
And this
know.
is Bank Street, which
Yeah.
on here
Yeah.
actually exists.
I think that's right on the Benwood Town property.
Oh, Goodrich Terrace. Okay.
Yeah.
But the selectmen have referred this to you based on a verbal request by
I
Mrs.
understand.
Lombardi. And perhaps a bit more of a formality might be in order.
Just saying.
Don't-
Yeah.
I suspect that you'll have a different sort of request to look forward to.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're looking for.
Okay. You did also have one other application that came in on March 31st, which I gave you this evening. It's an application for a special permit for a resident office. And that was for 3 Edge Hill, and that needs to have a public hearing. I hate to say that, but,
Yeah.
I
so,
don't think that's gonna be a lot of people.
I don't think there'll be a lot of people in that one.
We'll do that on May 2nd.
So if you choose to put that on May 2nd, I would respectfully request that we put it first.
Let's get out of here.
Fine. Okay, so. Just lost my. Okay, so we don't have a work session. We discussed regulation. We have approval minutes.
Do we have to formally put that on our agenda for next week, next meeting? Does that have to be?
The hearing on 3 Edge Hill, you can by consensus or by vote, whatever you prefer to do, but it would be nice to have an oral record that you
That's what I
decided to
think.
do that.
Just have a motion, Mr. Lutz?
Fine, I make a motion to put it on the agenda first.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And then there's a matter of for research.
Pardon?
Well, no, I mean, so you put it on the agenda and you're going to schedule it for hearing on May 2nd
Correct.
as the first item. Okay. Okay, thank you.
And then there's a matter of for research drive, Mr. Chairman.
This came in late afternoon and I distributed it to you.
But,
Terry can review it.
but I'm a little confused. Are they, it's just a letter asking for an opinion? And do we give opinions?
Well, I think I can help you out a bit.
Please.
This is the owner of 4 Research Drive. Some people call it the Bear Building. No, it was built for some bear.
I thought we rented out some of that to some laboratory. It's
Yeah.
not- It's still there?
So, the building is largely empty. I understand that it's like 5% rented.
Is that
on a
guy
month
still
to
there?
month. Pardon me?
Is the guy that we approved still there?
No,
Oh,
gone sometime.
where'd he go? Science Park?
No, he came from Science Park, if you recall, and I don't know where he went to. It was a dispute between the present landlord and that outfit. The building has sat empty largely for some years. In our very cold weather, not of this winter, but the winter before, froze up, and we saw ice running out of the thing. And they've now put it back, but they are having trouble marketing the building. And I've been asked as your zoning enforcement officer to construe your regulations, and that's where the question comes in, is that they're interested in using the building as a self-serve storage building. And they cite to the attached table of uses that in the Dev 2 zone, that our regulations currently allow the indoor storage of materials and goods. And I do not believe that that's would allow us to use this as of right as a self-storage building. And it would be a change of use, and should they wish to have this use, that they would need to change the use of this building in a regular application in front of this commission. We do have in the Dev 2 those sorts of storage buildings. We have one that imports foosball tables in large quantities and distributes them in the entire Northeast. And we have several blocks over in that Dev 2 zone. I believe that that's the kind of storage and warehousing.
Inventory.
I agree with your interpretation.
So, we'd like to give the person that will be having this opinion, the benefit of our mutual understanding of our regulations and not just your enforcement officers. So we'd be happy to inform if you have some consensus here, and should they wish to pursue this, which I don't consider is the highest and best use of this building, by the way.
It's a lab, isn't it a full-service lab?
It's a fantastic building, and
They can't get anybody to come in there?
that's their testimony to me. But it's a, it has a ventilation system to a hood system, by the way. It's a whole,
Yeah, no, I remember.
yeah.
Because we got involved with what, level 2, what,
Yeah.
Radioactive materials.
3, whatever it was, I remember that.
Absolutely. And besides, I think the self-storage business is just a different kind of business with a different set of dynamics.
I totally agree with your interpretation. At least I do.
So the other option that they then have, what they needed guidance from you was, is this something that's that, or do they apply then under, I think they attached the section, still has it, perhaps. There's a section of the regs, no, I guess I didn't, that allows for other uses,
Sure, it's
and it
A.
requires a public hearing. So we can tell them that if they wish to pursue that they can submit an application, which would require a hearing, and go from there. And that's the guidance we were looking for, so, thank you.
Okay. Just quickly before we get to our minutes, there seems to be some confusion. So there's this undercurrent going through town suggesting that our POC doesn't refer to the open space quantity of acres correctly, and that some of it's not protected open space and some of it is protected open space. And Amy Morella came here a couple of months ago, and I didn't really understand what she was doing here, but now that I've seen this chapter 2, what she was telling us is that the state is recommending approximately, I'm saying approximately because I don't know the exact number, 21% of the state be open space, but she was quick to point out that that's not necessarily, it's a guide, but it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that it recommends that towns have 11% open space, protected open space, blah, 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 blah. And that she was quick to tell us that just because we're past the 11%, we shouldn't be, I felt she was insinuating that because we were saying we were over the 11%, that we were suggesting no more open space get bought, and that's actually not what the POCD says. But I do want to make it clear, because now there's false statements being said out there, that ignoring what the state says of 21%, 23.8 or 9% of Woodbridge property is protected, is open space or protected. And so there's over 3,000 acres that is in protected, and there's about 11 or 1,200 acres that is unprotected, i.e. It's owned by the town, but the town could vote to put a school on it, for instance. And there's also this false statements being said out there that, like for instance, the water company property is considered protected land because the majority of it is class 1 and class 2, both of which are protected. They're prohibited from being sold or leased, etc. I mean, you'd have to do an act of Congress, and God knows that's never going to happen, to actually change it. So it is, so if anybody says anything, this is really protected land.
Oh, you mean they're saying it's not protected?
They're suggesting,
Oh, they're suggesting it's not protected.
they're actually saying that that is not what it says, but unless they're rewriting the state regs, which I don't think they are, class 1 and class 2 is. We also have some water company property that is class 3, but it's pretty minimal. That's what I was looking for. I did bring the paperwork in. So we really do have over 23% of the town protected. And if you add in the part that's open space but not protected, then you're up over 30%. So this is huge. Again, nobody was suggesting going through that POCD property that we don't continue to look and buy other open space. But to suggest that that isn't true is false. So I'm just going to make it really clear on the record that that's what it is. We're pretty lucky. So now we can go on approval of minutes. That's okay. We have approval of minutes for June 1st.
19,
They got lost.
2015.
Yeah. This is not a typo.
This is not a typo.
That's right.
I was going to review it, but I don't really want to.
You think I remember?
Please just approve them.
Okay.
So if anybody doesn't have any correction,
Well, they can't even vote on it.
they can. Oh yeah. So who can vote on it?
Whoever was at that meeting.
Well, a lot of people. Some people here weren't even there.
I was not there.
Well, if they abstain, then I think we're okay. I mean, if whoever was here could vote, I don't know which ones would be.
Okay. So
It's you and me.
Stephen was.
Oh, Steve?
And then anybody else can abstain. Let's see, who was here? Jeff, Alan, Larry. Well, you can defer it till possibly Larry and Kathleen are here and Alan, and then you'd have a quorum to vote on it.
I don't know. We have a timeline to get these things done.
No, seriously, no. By
I
statute,
think we
by
missed the
statute-
spot.
That's my point.
No.
That's my point.
by statute, you have to have your draft minutes in within a certain time frame, but there's no statutory requirement about when you have to have your approved minutes in. So you're not.
Great.
So if you want to defer them, that's okay. And then hopefully Kathleen and Alan and
Kathleen, look at it.
will be here at the next meeting and we
Okay,
can do
let's do
this.
the next
Okay,
meeting. I think we should be
Okay.
completely honest about this.
okay.
Okay, then we also have March 7th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 7th?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstained? All right. Well, actually, you're excused.
I was not there.
Oh, and neither was student. So they're abstaining.
Okay.
They just didn't know. It's okay. Then we have the,
You don't have those yet.
thank you.
Okay.
So the March 21st will be in another meeting.
Okay. As well, we'll do the June 1st at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion
Can we
to
wait
adjourn.
until June for June this year?
If you
And
would
do
like
it-
to do that,
just do
as long as you can assure me that we'll have a quorum to vote
Well,
on.
I'm part of you.
You know, just a year away.
Huh?
You don't need a quorum to approve.
We always do.
You don't have to have a quorum to approve minutes as long as you have people here who are there and then the others abstain, it comes as a yes vote.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, they come as a yes vote by abstention, and therefore you can.
But we have enough people that are still on
So
the commission that we could
we've kind of
officially
made
vote
an
on.
executive decision that we, thinking at the next meeting, there'll be more people, and we want to spread the heat. All right, cool. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
I'll
Who
second the
seconded?
motion. I second it.
Buddy,
You just-
people don't move fast.